Hello, hello, hello. I am going live way later than normal, but that's okay. I wanted to come on and talk to you because number one, sometimes we do things in business and in life that we think are just like, it's no big deal. Like the Taylor Swift song, right? Like, it's no big deal. It's no big deal, right? And I was talking to my coach on our call yesterday, and she was like, "Why haven't you talked about this?" Like, seriously, the fact that you can fill a masterclass and you closed it at higher than average, traditional, what we call conversion rates. Um, like, people need to know how you did that. People are going to want to know how you've done that. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I can talk about it. It just didn't seem like a big deal to me. And so I came up with 5 ways that you can do this for your business. And I'm going to tell you my theory on why it converted higher than other things have converted for me in the past, because I think that's important too. There's always a lot of different reasons on why things happen the way that they do, but this is going to be my theory on this. Okay. So, how I filled a masterclass with 3 days notice that converted at 12%, when the average conversion rate from free to paid is always going to be 1 to 5%, right? So I over doubled what the higher part of the conversion rate is. And so, yes, if you've never heard that theory or heard those numbers before, we convert at 1 to 5%, especially in the online space, right? So that means out of every 100 people that you come into contact with or you have a masterclass for, 1 to 5 would convert, right? Which means you get to get the 100 people there first to show up to be able to convert at that. So anything higher than 5% is huge. It's really, really good because it's not average, right? It's well above average. So, number one, the first thing I have to credit to being able to fill a masterclass in 3 days is visibility. Visibility has grown my business more than anything else. And so, yes, that has to do with video. Yes, that has to do with showing up as the face of my business. All of those things really come into play when it comes to growing a network, building relationships with your audience, right? So, visibility has to be number one. Number two is the content that I create that brings my audience in. If I was just visible and I just got on video and I just played with my dog, obviously that's not going to do anything for anybody, right? It's not changing anybody's life. It's not giving them tips. It's not giving them quick wins. It's not doing anything for them, right? So I always want to have, when I create content, I always want to have content with purpose. I want to have content with a plan. I want to have content that's passion, or it's very potent, right? So I want to have one of those things always involved when I place a piece of content out there. I don't post to post. So if we can get to a place where we're not posting to post, we're going to make a bigger impact with the words that we say. And we actually don't have to put out as much content when there is more purpose with that piece of content. Okay. So the third thing is building my list. I have built my list. I have built my social media platforms, and I'm not sitting here saying they have to be huge followers. I actually have proven by starting over my Instagram account, which had 10,000 followers on it. And I started back from 0. I'm at 300 now. But I'm proving that the least amount of followers I have, I'm actually making a bigger impact. My story views are up higher, not percentage wise, number wise. There are more people watching my stories with 300 followers than there were with 10,000. That 10,000 platform I started in 2017, I have evolved, I have changed. Those people probably don't even know who I am anymore, right? Because I've just evolved so much. I've changed so much, or maybe they're not my person anymore. Maybe I'm not their person. There are bots. There are probably fake accounts. There's so many things on Instagram. So being able to start fresh means I know that in the last 3 weeks, I've grown it to 300. And guess what? I have 300 viable leads, 300 people that want to follow me for me. And so I don't think it has to do with numbers, but I have intentionally built my list. I have intentionally built my platforms, right? By being authentic to me. Now, authentic Chrissy 2 years ago is totally different than authentic Chrissy today. It doesn't matter because I've just grown, I've evolved, I've changed, I've elevated, right? I've elevated my experience, what I do, how I support others. So all of that has changed over the years, but I've been very conscious of building that out. Number 4, it wasn't so far out that they forgot about it. A lot of times when I do a masterclass, a lot of times when I do a free challenge or anything like that, I'm looking at 10 to 14 days out is when I start talking about it. Well, legit, when I start talking about something that's happening in 3 days, number one, you know what your schedule is in the next 3 days. You know exactly if you're available or not. It gets you super excited and you don't have time to forget it, right? So I had way more people, probably percentage wise, that signed up and showed up live than normal because of that. So I think that having it so close and not so far out and not so stretched out also built a lot more excitement around it. And number 5, I believe that the fact that I am so consistent, I build like, know, and trust so much faster because I'm consistent on video, on my content, showing up for myself, being the face of my business. I am always building parasocial relationships. People know who I am. They can be lurkers. I don't need instant gratification of comments and likes on my content because people are always watching. The same is true with you. People are always watching, whether you get that instant gratification of a heart or I love that, I resonate with that, or a question or a hop in your DMs, people are always watching. There are way more lurkers than there are likers. And if you can keep that in mind and know that somebody is always watching, it helps you to continue to show up. Delayed gratification is one of the best things that I have done for myself, is understanding that delayed gratification is what it is. It's not instant gratification. I will get gratification from this someday, right? But people have to go through the process. It's the same thing as when I first started in this industry. It took me a really long time to like, know, and trust somebody to actually pay high ticket. Now I can do it in about a week of knowing them in a week, probably less than that, depending on how much of their content I consume. But if it's there and it's available, right? If it's there and available for me to watch it, then I can totally take myself from a cold lead to a hot lead really fast. And that's what I've seen a lot of people do with my content. They find me, then they binge me, right? But if we're not giving them anything to binge, then how can they do that? It's like falling in love with a show on Netflix, and then you literally just can't stop. You just keep watching. And this can be led in by a podcast, a video, a TikTok, a reel. All they need is that one initial piece of content to fall in love with you. And then they consume more of your content, right? They binge you. A couple other reasons why this isn't like the top 5 things, but I think there's a couple other reasons why that this masterclass did so well. And I'm going to be having a couple pop-up masterclasses coming up in the next 2 weeks because I just don't have them on my calendar, but I'm going to look and find a time to do it. And so I will keep you guys posted. So if you definitely want to know when these pop-up masterclasses happen, drop it in the comments and I'll make sure that I remind you when they do happen, because it'll be 2 to 3 days notice before I pop them up. So I want to make sure that you know about those. Okay. So I think because it was pop up, I think there was less pressure. I think my expectations were much less. I think the stress wasn't there. There was literally no pressure. And I love that Amanda Francis says this, but she says, hold on loosely. And so many times we want to I think about this with my puppy right now. Like, I just want to hug her and love her. And she only takes it for so long. And then she's squirming out my arms, going her own way. Like, I'm done. I'll come back later, but I'm done right now. Like, you've just squeezed too tight. I think about when my parents, or when I've told my children, I don't want you dating that person, right? Is there somebody else? What does that do? It pushes them into their arms, right? It just pushes them away. So when we hold on loosely and we are very disconnected from the outcome, so to speak, it doesn't mean we don't have belief. It doesn't mean we don't have certainty, but it's like, I know what I bring to the table. And therefore, if you feel like we're the match, right? If you feel like we're a match to work together, if you feel like I am your person and I am the mentor you want to learn from, you're going to work with me. If not, that's okay. There are plenty of people out there that want to work with you, and there are plenty of people out there that can go work with somebody else, right? So there's no true pressure there. And the more we hold on that tightly and we feel like, oh my gosh, don't slip away, we're just going to lose them, right? And we don't want to do that. The other thing is that I didn't make, so typically on a masterclass that I do if I run it for 10 days, I typically have about 150 people that register. And that's on average. So sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but on average. And typically I'll have about probably 40 people show up live. Well, in a 3-day masterclass, obviously I didn't have 150 people. Again, I had no pressure. I had no expectations of who would sign up. I had more of like 50, probably 40 to 50 sign up. 20 people showed up live. Huge, right? The actual rate of people showing up was higher. Again, I believe, this is my theory, it was such short notice and they knew they had the time. They knew in their mind, oh my gosh, I really want to pay attention to this. Oh my gosh, I really want to watch this. I really want, to hear more of what she has to say about this. So I think that really helped too. And the other thing that I want to remind you is that I have had my first webinar I did 3.5, 4 years ago. No one showed up. I did 8 webinars in a row live, like in a 2.5, 3-week period. The first time nobody showed up, but I did it anyhow. The second time, I think one person showed up. The third time, I think 2 people showed up, and one of the people was the one from the one before. I think this person watched all of the rest of them live, which is fine because I kept getting better and I knew I was getting better. And then by the 8th one, I think I had 15 people show up. Still not a whole lot, but I was building my business. I was in that zone, right? And the reason everybody asked, why did you do it when nobody showed up? Number one, I was on a webinar platform and somebody could have showed up at any moment, right? They could have came late. And how embarrassing it would have been. It was like, yeah, I showed up, but it wasn't going on anymore. Number two, I needed to practice. And I had already said to myself, even if no one shows up, I'm still doing this. I'm still putting myself out there. And so that helped so much, knowing that was the expectation I had for myself. So when we think about doing webinars, we think about, and I don't even call them webinars anymore. I just feel like that says, oh, you're going to sell to me. I prefer like workshops or master classes where we give a lot of value. We lead with a lot of value up front. We give, I believe in the law of reciprocity. We're giving all that value. So it's an easier yes when you invite them to the thing. The other thing is that when I send people or when I invite people, so at the end of the masterclass, that one converted to 12%. It's not a pitch. I tell them what's next. I invite them, do Q&A. It's very hold on loosely mentality, and it works. So if you have been wondering, like, how can I have a masterclass? How can I do this? Like, make sure you take these steps because I think it will help you so much. If you want to know about the pop-up masterclasses I'm going to be having in the next 2 weeks, make sure you just comment me so that I can make sure I reach out to you when those become available. If you're on my list, I'll definitely be announcing in there and also in my free community. Obviously, I'll probably be announcing it everywhere in my stories and things like that. So just keep an eye out. I don't have an official date yet. I'm hoping I'm going to do one on Thursday, but we'll just see what happens. So just pay attention or comment me and I'll make sure that I let you know. But drop your biggest takeaway. I cannot wait to serve and support you in the next pop-up masterclass that I do. And I am always here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.